Hi, I'm here with Florian Richter at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. He's the CEO of Muddy Machines. Tell us, what is Muddy Machines?
Yeah, so Muddy Machines is an AgTech robotics company. We are fighting the labor shortages in farming. What we've built, you can see that behind us, is Sprout. That's our fully autonomous electric tool carrier. And we are showing off Sprout here at Goodwood with our asparagus harvester tool.
Great. So why did you call it Sprout?
That is a question that only my co-founder and CTO Chris can answer. I think he built the first one and said, "This, I will call you Sprout," and then that name stuck.
So you're here at Goodwood Festival of Speed. I mean, it doesn't sort of necessarily make sense to have a robotic tractor here at this festival. How come you're here?
We're part of the Future Labs, the tent that is right behind the camera that we can't see. So they use this to show off like new innovations that are somewhat related to automotive or motion. And they were very kind to provide us this makeshift field. And we're actually, we get the question a lot. Is this Festival of Speed? Why is it so slow? But really some good conversations with the crowd here. It's nice.
Brilliant. So tell us about Sprout then. Here you've got a demo, and I could put some videos up later of how you're driving around a pretend asparagus field. So how did you choose asparagus, and what is the challenge that you are answering with your robotics?
Yeah, so the challenge is the availability of labor, right? So for every worker that an asparagus farmer is short, they're losing up to £25,000 per season. So that's a pretty big hole in their budget. Someone like our farming partner, they need hundreds of people, and they can get just over half the people they need. So this is really hitting their balance sheet. What is it that we specifically do? Like we drive over the crop and measure the spears with precision cameras, and then direct our end effectors exactly at the point where the asparagus needs to be cut. And to do that repetitively and accurately over an entire shift, this is something that people also struggle with, right? The stumps get longer and longer, the yield is dropping and dropping. And so with a robot, you can say, we will harvest this accurately for the entire harvest shift, come what will.
And I think the main challenge, though, is a big lack of labour, farm labour all over the world, particularly here in the UK, and with Brexit and COVID and other factors. How many people can your robot replace?
So as it stands right now, we are at about 1 person per robot. We have to be careful with the weight and the foam factor of the robot, that we don't cause too much soil compaction, but we are sure that we can get it up to 5 people for 1 robot.
So you'd be replacing the equivalent of 5 harvesters for 1 robot. So that's a significant saving. So you were saying to me earlier that some of your future clients on the asparagus side have major costs to that labour that they have to pay each year.
Exactly. So a person costs about £7,000 in hourly wages for a season, and you have to be in line with that with your robot cost, with your robot as a service cost, because otherwise it's not profitable for the farmer, right? You can't say this has been harvested with a robot, therefore the supermarket is going to pay you double. That's not how it works, right? It's from the get-go, it has to be at a cost that the farmer can say, okay, if I was forced to use 100 robots, I would be still making money.
Mm-hmm. So one of the challenges in robotics, and I've been covering this for a while now, it's just a very lengthy exercise. Building this robot here has taken you 3 years.
Hardware's hard, yeah.
Hardware's hard. It's taken you 3 years to build this. But another thing that's quite unique is that you have customers at the ready.
Yeah. So I mean, one of our company values is farmers first. So we made sure that from the get-go we didn't design something that was good from a robotics point of view, but didn't answer the actual question of the farmer. So how do I mean, the problem is clear, I don't have enough people to pick it, but how do we exactly want it picked? At ground level, slightly above, at what angle, how rough can it be with a spear? And that was something that we really made sure we listened to them very, very closely. And I mean, we don't only have an asparagus farmer waiting in the ranks for getting our robots going, but we also have a major courgette grower that is waiting for our courgette harvester that is sitting on the same machine to have that going. So for Sprout to then be operational in an asparagus field the first 3 months of the season, and then go into another 5 to 6 months of courgette harvesting.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So you mentioned in your description, Muddy Machines, that you are a tool carrier.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that means you're actually agnostic long term about the type of crop,
exactly.
or even the type of activity that you're performing.
Yes, I mean, obviously we started with this angle insight into asparagus harvesting, but we then looked around, okay, how can we actually put our tool into the field, and realized there's nothing there. There were only really expensive mine clearing robots, etc. available that would never hit this unit economics that would work for the farmer. So we were essentially forced to build our own field robot, and knowing that asparagus is a rather small crop, we said, okay, this needs to be crop agnostic. So we can put in a courgette harvester, we can put in a different kind of weeding tool, we can look at, ornamentals, we can look at beans, we can look at lettuce, and we really want to be the company that solves the problem of the robotics, the field robotics companies. How do I get my harvester, my tool into the field?
So you're now approaching your first commercial growing season. What's next after that?
After this growing season, we hope to raise a Series A so we can build a much bigger fleet than just 5 robots and really get that revenue generation wheel spinning, and then keep growing the fleet from that with more asparagus tools, spend more on R&D to harvest additional crops, collaborate, acquire, merge with other companies that have tools that are compatible. All of that is next.
And it's interesting how you talked about the collaboration. It's something I've noticed that's increasing over the years. When I first started reporting on ag tech, people wanted to be the be all and end all. This tool is going to save the world. Whereas I feel like collaboration really has come through a lot more recently, and there are many more partnerships. Is that something you feel, and how would you characterize the ag tech community?
Yes to all of that. Collaboration is incredibly important. It's a bit of a chicken and egg problem. We are all working on very similar problems, but you can't really build a venture financeable business by running on an open or free software kind of environment. You have to have your IP to yourselves that you can monetize. So it's a very difficult one to collaborate with other startups, because it would be silly to rely on another startup for a critical component. So it's a race to who can be the platform provider that is credible, that they will be there in 5 years if other people start to build tools for them. But we are, what's helping with collaboration a lot is Innovate UK funding, where you're sitting together in a grant-funded project and you each build different software components that are specific to you, but overall you're collaborating on the stack. That does help.
Okay, and then the last question, obviously there's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence at the moment with ChatGPT, and everyone's terrified that they're going to lose their jobs, and I literally hear about it every day on the radio.
Yeah.
What do you say to those people?
Well, we started with AI before the hype was there. A lot of questions we get here is, aren't you making people unemployed that are relying on this farming job? And again, to the labor shortage, right? It's going to take a long time until we have enough robots to fill this shortage of field labor. But in addition to that, the jobs that we are changing through the deployment of these robots are actually going to be better jobs in farming. Right now, your job, even if you're the team leader, you stand in the field, 30 degrees heat, and pick asparagus. The jobs,
it's back-breaking.
It's back-breaking, it's sweating, you have to cover yourselves with all sorts of sun protection. But as a robot supervisor, you can run 5 or 10 robots out of your pickup truck, come in every now and again to remove an obstacle, to change some boxes, whatever. But this is really, I think, going to unlock so much more interesting jobs in the rural communities on a more year-round basis. Because these communities suffer from, 1,000 people in, 3 months later, 1,000 people out. Right? But they're not really the ones that are buying meals at the pub in the winter and really getting the GDP of that farming community up.
And I guess it also speaks to the aging farming populations we all speak about. Maybe there's technology-related jobs that might keep
make it more interesting, right? It's not just going to be you sitting on your tractor. It's going to be coordinating a field of a fleet of field robots.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thanks for coming.